Some seasons are for blooming, and some seasons are for building our roots. Both those seasons matter. Hello everyone, thank you so much for joining me here today. If you're new, I'm Amanda. Welcome to the channel where we are all about shattering the mental health stigma. If you haven't already, please make sure you make sweet, sweet love to that subscribe button. Give the bell a few kisses so you're not missing any of this content designed to help you with your mental health or help you help someone else. Now today I'm going to be reacting to Dear God by Dax. My last video here on the channel was all about how sheltered I was about men's experiences when I did my reactions to Be a Man and the To Be a Man remix by Dax. And the video is me starting to try to understand and learn more about men's experiences because of your feedback in the comments, because of the things that you guys were trying to teach me. So make sure to check that out, especially if you were one of the commenters in one of my previous Dax reactions. Doing that video though made me start kind of jonesing for some Dax, and my channel members voted on this as the song and artist that they wanted the most. P.S. Channel members do get to vote on upcoming reactions. That is one of the benefits of being a channel member, so if you've considered it, now is a perfect time to join. Timing is also pretty poetic though that so many people requested this song because my partner Aaron and I recently started our own channel. You might actually be accessing this video through there, or you might see below that I collabed with the channel so you guys can subscribe to it if you just can't get enough of me. But we started our own channel about atheism so we can process our own religious trauma, and so we can share information, thoughts, and reactions that we have to encourage constructive conversation with believers and non-believers alike, and those who are going through the deconstruction process. Like I said, you'll see that I collaborated with that channel. If you're not accessing this video through the channel directly, so you can see my Mental Amanda channel and my Abstract Atheist channel, or Aaron and I's Abstract Atheist channel, both below, but I will also link it in the description. I have to say though that I'm really nervous going into this song because of my atheism. Gauging by the title, and maybe I am way off and I gave this whole spiel for nothing, but gauging by the title, it seems like it's going to have a pretty heavy religious theme one way or another. And I don't know if the atheist perspective is one that's been given amidst other reactors or how it's going to be received. I don't talk about it much because I don't want anyone to feel ostracized. I want everyone to know that they are welcome here in the community regardless of what they believe or don't believe. But I always encourage people to share their mental health stories, and religion or the deconstruction of religion is a huge part of mental health, for better or for worse. And you guys know that I am nothing if not honest, so I just have to say, buckle up, because I have a feeling a lot is going to come out in this reaction. But let's go. Dear God by Dax. No. Dax Jesus?
Just want to make this clear. I am a believer.
Okay.
But sometimes it gets hard. My name's Dax. Dear God, there's a lot of questions that I have about the past, and I don't want to hear it from a human. You made it, so you're the last person that I'm ever gonna ask. Tell me what's real, tell me what's fake. Why is everything about you a debate? What's the point of love? Every time I showed it I was broken, and it's forced me just to only want to hate. Why is it only one you but multiple religions? Why does every conversation end in a division? Why does everybody want to tell us how to live, but they won't listen to the same damn message that they give it? Tell me how to feel, tell me what's wrong. I tried to call, pick up the phone, I'm on my own. Everybody says you coming back to man, why the hell's it taking so long? Why do I hurt? Why is there pain? Why does everything good always have to change? Why does everybody try to profit off another man's work, then destroy it just for monetary gain? Tell me, are you black or are you white? I don't even really care, I just really want to know what's right. They've been saying one thing, but I've been looking in the book, and it seems like they've been lying for my whole damn life. Tell me where I'm going. Is it heaven or hell? I just hope this message greets you well. Had a dream that I was walking with the devil. Don't remember how it feels, but I swear that I remember the smell. Looked me right into my eye and told me everything I wanted could be mine if I gave up and decided to sell. But I said I'd rather die than get mine. Now I'm here, no fear, one man with a story to tell. Dear God, we're...
I'm sorry, I know there's really no good place to pause in these kinds of things. I'll rewind it a little bit so I can pick back up at a good place the best I can. Whoa. First and foremost, I know this is kind of a little side tangent, but I'm glad we finally get a more historically accurate Jesus, because I hate that we whitewash Jesus. I firmly believe that Jesus would have had dark skin, so just saying. I like that he starts the song saying that he's a believer, because it gives us his perspective right off the bat. Like, I'm saying, hey, I'm an atheist, so that's how I'm gonna come from sharing some of this. But the interesting thing is, him and I both have pretty much the same thoughts. Like, there's a lot of the same thoughts, a lot of the same processes and stuff going on here. Mine just led to deconstruction when his solidified his faith, which is actually really interesting when you stop to think about it. But I think it hits like a confession from someone who's been spiritually whiplashed, which I completely understand. It's not, he wasn't, I don't know Dax's backstory, but I wasn't born into belief. And it sounds like this has kind of been an experience where he's being thrown around. He's getting all these different perspectives, as almost all of us do, you know, where us in industrialized nations, where we're just getting all these different ideas of God. There's thousands of religions and everybody thinks theirs is the right one, or thousands of sects of Christianity alone, and everybody thinks they have it right. And I think that it's more being pulled through the gravity of other people's certainty, right? I think that because I wasn't raised in a religious home, it was my friend's parents who ushered me into church and taught me about sin and salvation, and that was long before I was old enough to really question the emotional weight of these words. I didn't understand, and I think that's actually really unfair. And I recently learned, I haven't looked a lot into it, but I recently learned that in Japan, they're making it illegal to indoctrinate a child into religion, which I think is kind of fair, because they should be able to understand what it is they are being told and what it is they're learning, so that they can think for themselves, so that they can come to that conclusion on their own, whether or not they want to follow that. But so when Dax is pleading, it was so fast, and I just had so many thoughts coming up. But when he's pleading, "Dear God, there's a lot of questions I have about the past," it feels like he's not just talking to God there. He's not just talking to the deity, but to the version of himself that was shaped by that secondhand conviction, because it was handed down to him. And his questions, let's see, why is there only one you but multiple religions? Why is everything about you a debate? I think that really echoes the confusion of someone who learned faith through borrowed voices. And they later realize that, I'm just going to say it was manipulation dressed up as love. They're hearing these things. It's not an experience of their own. And this is something that I often say as an atheist. Atheism isn't a choice. Atheism is what happens when nobody introduces religion to you. If you are not introduced to Christianity or to whatever religion you practice, you would never know about that. So all of this is just borrowed from other people. All of this is secondhand conviction. Religion is always going to be secondhand conviction, because someone else has taught you about it and told you to believe in it. It wasn't that you had your own experience that made you suddenly understand everything without being told in some way. But I think that I think that there's a lot of exhaustion in the awareness. I have to be honest, the kind that comes from realizing that you were indoctrinated. You weren't enlightened. This wasn't enlightenment. You were indoctrinated by people you trusted. And there's still, for me, there's still that longing for something bigger. There's still that longing, like an old scar that hasn't quite healed. And there's a lot going on, so I'm going to share a lot here. I have a lot to say already, and I imagine that it's only going to get more intense. But if the oohs and ahs kinds of reactions are your thing, totally respect that. But I like to do analyses on the lyrics and how it ties into mental health and stuff. So if you're still listening, thanks for sticking around. But I think what makes this song so haunting, other than seeing him on his knees, he's also begging, just like Jesus begged, you know, like, Father, don't forsake me. He's begging for that comfort. I did that so many times, and nothing offends me more as an atheist than someone that insinuates that I just need to pray. Ma'am, Sir, you do not understand how many times I was on my knees, how many times I prayed from the bottom of my heart for God to be there, and I was alone. I did not feel anything, I did not hear anything, I did not experience anything, and there's nothing more insulting than having someone tell me that I didn't pray good enough, I didn't have enough faith, I didn't wait long enough, when I had all the faith as a child. I had all the faith. And I felt alone. I never felt more alone than when I prayed. I just needed to say that. But I think that this song is really haunting, especially for someone like me who, because it's wrestling, like we're wrestling with meaning after the fall of belief. So after you've deconstructed, you're really wrestling with finding that meaning. That's super common during deconstruction, to wrestle to find that meaning. And I need everyone to hear this. I really need every person to hear this if we're going to have a constructive conversation in the comments. I am not an atheist out of rebellion. So let me say that again for the people in the back. I am not an atheist out of rebellion. I simply cannot force myself to believe. Honestly, I would love to believe. I would love to say, yep, there's a loving God out there that's looking after me. I'm going to see my parents again one day. I would love to believe that. I just can't. Still, when Dax says, tell me where I'm going, is it heaven or hell? I have the lyrics pulled up here, and I'm glad I did, because there's a lot to unpack. So I'm trying to make sure I touch on as much as I can. But when he's saying, tell me where I'm going, is it heaven or hell? I think it cracks open that familiar fear for me. Like, I have intense existential dread. If I stop to think about it for any amount of time, I will have a full-blown panic attack. So hopefully I don't have one of those here on stream. If I do, I'm sure that you guys will be there for me. But it's that familiar fear that death really is the end. That that's it. That it's, you know, lights out, we're done. And there's no God, there's nothing after that. That the people we've loved are just lost. And that for me, that's my parents. That's my baby that I lost. That's a really unsettling, depressing thought, that they're just gone forever, that they're just lost forever. And the rational part of me accepts that, but the child in me, the one who was once promised eternal reunion and divine purpose, that part still aches. Like, there's an inner child part of myself that really still hurts. And I think that Dax is really capturing that tension perfectly here. The war between logic and longing. I don't know if all atheists have that. My partner doesn't really have that as much as I do, so I don't know if that's common for atheists, but I have, you know, this ache between that longing and logic, the truth and the comfort. And it isn't an anthem of disbelief. Like he said, I'm a believer. This isn't an anthem of disbelief or anything. It's a eulogy for the faith that we're trying really hard to hold on to, and a quiet hope that maybe even in the silence, someone is still listening.
Mine, now I'm here, no fear, one man with a story to tell. Dear God, where were you when I needed it? When I fucked up and repeated it? When they set the bar and I exceeded it? My life is like a book that they've been judging by a cover, but have never took the time to fucking read the shit. I remember telling you my goals and my dreams, but you didn't even answer, so I guess you didn't believe in it. I remember sitting with a gun to my head trying to ask you for some help, but I guess you didn't believe it. I don't want religion, I need that spirituality. I don't want a church, I need people to call a family. I don't want to tell my sins to another sinner just because he's got a robe and he went to some academy. I don't want to read it in the book, I want to hear it from you. Don't want to learn it in my school because they hiding the truth. Don't want to talk about it to another fucking human being, and that's the only reason that I even stepped in this booth. Dear God.
Sorry to stop again. I know that there wasn't a lot of time, but there is so much to unpack here that I would not get to the end and be able to say even half of what I want to say. There's so many thoughts building and stuff. I think that this feels so raw. There's so much anger, and he has so much questioning, and these are a lot of questions that have come up for me and things that I'm definitely going to discuss on the channel, on the Atheist channel, so make sure to stay tuned for that. But I think that this is a really raw point. I can see that this is a really raw nerve for him. I understand why it's very raw for me, because it's the moment where belief collapses under the weight of lived experience. Now, for me, I started my deconstruction, my deconversion before I had a lot of that lived experience, before my parents passed away or I was sexually assaulted, anything like that. I had already started my deconstruction process in my late teens. But I think when he's talking about having the gun to his head and He's trying to ask God for help, and he's saying, I guess you didn't believe in it. That hit hard because it reminded me of when my mom passed away, the night my mom passed away. I remember praying and saying, I dropped to my knees in the middle of the cardiac unit, in the middle of CCU with the what are they called? The chaplain. And I remember just praying, I understand if you need to take her. I understand if she wants to go be with my dad. I understand if this is part of your plan. And mind you, I had been a non-believer for years at this point, but I am humbling myself to my knees in the middle of the unit, screaming. Like, if you need to be with her, or if she needs to be with dad, if you need her to be with you, okay, I understand. Please just let me know that she's okay. Please just let me know that she's out there, that you're there, that I'm not alone. Please, dear God, please. I've never felt more alone in my whole life. There was no comfort, there was no signs, there was no nothing, and I was trying really hard to keep an open heart and open mind and pay attention. I mean, I'm praying at this point already as a non-believer, trying to humble myself and saying, I want you to protect me and protect her and see her to the other side and everything, and make sure that she didn't feel fear and that she gets to where she's meant to go with my dad and everything. And that's kind of what that reminded me of, were the times where I did want to unalive myself. It wasn't with a gun, but the metaphorical gun to my head, and I was just, why don't you care? Why aren't you there? Everybody says that you're real. I've never felt you. I've never experienced you, and I've wanted to. I've been open to, and it's just never been there. It's like, this is the purest distillation. That line, these experiences are the purest distillation of spiritual abandonment. And as someone, that's what I was experiencing when I lost my mom. It came off as abandonment. It just felt like an extra stab in the gut, you know? And for someone who lost faith out of exhaustion, not anger. I was never angry at God because I don't believe he exists. I can't be angry at something I don't believe exists. That line, though, is just so unbelievably devastating about the gun to the head. Like, it captures what it feels like I did with my mom, to reach for that divine hand just one more time, and come up empty. To scream into the void, to literally scream and beg into the void, only to realize that silence isn't temporary, it's permanent. There's nothing there to respond to you. That's the moment that atheism often begins for a lot of people when they start questioning their faith. And it's not as a declaration. It's not, oh, yep, I'm going to be an atheist now because I'm angry at you. It's a realization that help isn't coming, that there is no sparkles coming out of the sky, no angels are going to float down on a cloud or anything. Help's not coming. And once you accept that, you start trying to build meaning without a cosmic safety net, I guess. And that was a big part of my journey, is trying to build that meaning. I think that, again, I know he's saying he's a believer, so it's not really quite a rejection of religion, but I think it's a longing for spirituality. And I have to say that I know a lot of people that'll say, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, yet they still believe in the Bible and Jesus and that story, which means you are religious, because if you accept that Jesus Christ is your personal savior, that he is real, that the Christian God is true, that makes you a Christian, even if you don't practice it exactly according to the Bible. That makes you a Christian. But it really speaks to the need, I think, for connection. That atheism doesn't erase that. Atheism doesn't erase that need for human connection. There have been a lot of atheist philosophers that wrote about that same ache, that even without God, we still crave transcendence, we still yearn for belonging and purpose. And when Dax says, I don't want a church, I need people to call a family, I was ostracized pretty hard by a lot of the people that I'd been close to when I started leaving. When I started deconstructing, I had a lot of people push me out. But I love that, because I used to say, even as a believer, church is a building. The Bible's a book. Like, God is not in those things specifically. Even as a believer, I didn't think that those things were the only way to connect with God. The church is a building, and he's not wanting church. He's wanting community. He's wanting support. He's wanting people to be there. And I think that this speaks to something that angers me so much. It's one of my biggest peeves. Thoughts and prayers. I'm just going to say it. I know this is going to offend some people. I'm really sorry, but this is coming from a place of my own pain and trauma. Please know that and try to understand. Thoughts and prayers are the laziest damn thing that you can possibly say. And I think that that line is kind of tying into that, that it's like, I don't need a church. I need a family. I need support. I need love. I need people to be there for me. I don't just want these faces that are going to say, oh, I'm sending you thoughts and prayers. Really, my dude? Are you really? Are you getting on your knees that night and saying, dear God, please help this person specifically? I'm sure some of you do, and cool if you do, like, you're sending that love and stuff. But most people are going to say thoughts and prayers, type it in the comment, and then they're going to scroll right on to the next thing and forget you exist. So even the thoughts and prayers are meaningless. And I'm a big advocate. I'm sorry, I'm getting heated. But again, as someone who's been going through a lot of struggles lately, to have the whole thoughts and prayers thrown at your face is a slap. It is spitting in my face. I just... Okay. But I just think that I don't want you to pray for people in the community. I want you to help people in your community, whether that be me or people here in the comments. I know that sometimes the only thing that you can do is say, hey, I'm holding space for you, and I know that's what thoughts and prayers are supposed to be, but I just feel like you're not holding that space. And so I think that that's what he's talking about, where he's really needing people to call a family. And it echoes that secular search for community after the collapse of faith. He's not rejecting morality. He's not rejecting depth. He's not even rejecting God. He's rejecting the hypocrisy of institutions and people that claim divine authority while ignoring human pain and suffering. And when he says, I don't want to read it in a book, I want to hear it from you, there's the haunting paradox. There it is, the longing for something that reason tells you isn't there. And to me, this part wasn't just about questioning God. I know, again, long tangent. I'm glad you're here for it. If you're listening to this, you're still here for it. But it's about confronting the loneliness that follows disbelief. For a lot of people, it's very lonely to deconstruct. So people think, oh, it's so much easier to just be an atheist and do whatever you want to do. First and foremost, I didn't leave religion so I could just go sin it up, okay? But it's actually very, very difficult to leave. You can be pushed out of your family, of your community, you're questioning things, you don't understand the world anymore, you're feeling bitter and resentful because you feel like the people you trusted lied to you. So there's just a lot. And once the supernatural is gone, once that isn't in the picture anymore, you kind of have to build your world from the ground up. Now you're having to build your own belief system, build meaning, build all that community and stuff from the ground up through art, through empathy, through shared struggle, through experience. You're having to build that up through questioning, through searching and exploring and learning. You're having to really rebuild that. And in a sense, it's ironic because I know this isn't really what Dax is going for, but I appreciate the song because it's kind of like a secular prayer in a way, because he is a believer and I as a non-believer can both relate to the lyrics. And I'm hoping that a lot of you, no matter where you stand, can have that same experience. This isn't really a prayer to a God above per se, but to the part of ourselves that refuses to give up searching for light, even once we realize that that light comes from within. And even as a believer, I want to give this caveat, even as a believer, that light could be the God in you, because we're theoretically, by Christian belief, we're made in God's image. There's a part of God in us. That light is in you. If you believe that, I believe that from a universal standpoint, but if you want to go at it from a Christian standpoint, God's light is in you, and it is your responsibility to share that light, to express that light, to shine that light to your fellow human, to your fellow man. So I think that that was a really important message. I'm sorry, I won't pause again till the end, I promise. So here we go.
How do I take this darkness and turn it into light? How do I believe in the concept where I speak to a man I've never seen with my own two eyes? How do I know that religion wasn't made just to separate the world and create a whole disguise just to keep us in these chains while the rich get richer and the poor pray to you and perpetuate a lie? How do I know this ain't some big joke? How can I have faith when there is no hope? How the hell does one man have $100 billion and we still have people on the street that are broke? There's a lot of things I want to talk about and get off my chest. I can't sleep because the devil won't let me rest. I used to know a fucking pastor in a church and I can still hear the screams of the kids he will fucking molest. Dear God, do you hear me? I'm supposed to fear you, but you ain't said shit. So maybe it's you who actually fears me. I don't know the answer, I just want to see it clearly. So many lies, 1,000 different theories. All I want to know is who really made religion, cause I know it wasn't you, but don't nobody believe me. No more lies, no more death. Bring back King, bring back X. Please, dear God, let their souls rest. Protect who's left and what It's Dax.
Okay, so obviously this is going to be my interpretation, but I think it's interesting that even with all of his questioning, even all of his lack of faith in many ways, like his faith is crumbling, you can see that, he's still rising, he's still being accepted and taken up. And I have always said, if there is a God and he is just, then he will know my heart. He will know that I'm not an atheist out of rebellion, or she will know that I'm not an atheist out of rebellion, that I genuinely wanted to believe and couldn't. And we'll see that I tried to live a good life, that I tried to be open-minded and question and be curious and pray and things like that. And if there's a God and he's unjust or she's unjust, I don't really want to serve him anyway. And if there is no God, at least I lived a good life that I am proud of. And I think that that was really interesting at the end where he's being lifted up, which is kind of how it's explained will happen to believers in the end. In the Bible, it's described as they're kind of going to be beamed up in a way. And I think that that was really awesome. I did not expect the amen at the end. I almost feel like that was kind of an ironic amen, kind of here, I'm gonna get it all out and amen, like mic drop. That's kind of what I felt. This was so much different than I expected. I love Dax because he can help us have conversations. He can help us have different perspectives. He can help us learn different thoughts and different beliefs and things that we might not have thought of before. And I really, really hope with everything in me that this video can encourage some constructive conversation. Like I was saying, whether you're coming here from the Abstract Atheist channel or the Mental Amanda channel, I really want this to encourage constructive conversation. I am not trying to insult religion. I'm not trying to say you're stupid if you believe you're a bad person or anything like that. I'm trying to be very respectful and just share my thoughts and beliefs, and I hope that you can do the same in the comments. But I expected the song to be very pro-religion, that it was just gonna be a prayer, like little angel halo, like, dear God, thank you for everything. That's kind of what I expected. Like, thank you for my fame, thank you for my family. I don't know why, but that's kind of what I expected. But I feel like this echoes so much that I felt, that I thought, that I struggled with in my own faith and my eventual fall from it. So this connected to me way more than I thought it would. I have so much more to say than I thought I would. It hit my heartstrings way more than I thought it would, because it really gives an opportunity for conversation around faith, around deconstruction, around questioning, around all these different things. And I always encourage people, good, bad, and crazy, make sure you're sharing your stories. And this is such an opportunity to do that, whether you are healed by faith, whether you were burned by faith, whether you struggle like I do. I think this is a good opportunity. But I feel like this final verse is kind of like this existential climax, that it's the point where faith and rage and grief and all these things collide in one desperate cry. Like, the feeling that I'm getting, if I had to describe this song in one word, is desperation. And I relate to that more than anyone could possibly imagine. I am so desperate to believe in something else, and I just can't. And it was actually very hard for me to say the words, I am an atheist, because I really genuinely don't believe in anything. And I know there's a lot of confusion around what it means to be agnostic, atheist, etc., because people think, oh, well, if you're an atheist, you're not open to there being anything else. It's no, I believe there's nothing because I'm following the evidence and I'm following the proof that's been presented to me. It's not that if that changed, I wouldn't be open to changing my mind, but I don't think there's really anything that could do that. Prove me wrong, right? But I think that Dax's words really channel the universal human struggle to reconcile suffering with the idea of a just and loving God. Actually, just made a video, made a short that's going to go live over on the channel about just this. This particular one talks about free will and how a lot of people will say, oh, well, God gave you free will, so he can't stop suffering. I call BS on that. Stay tuned for the short and you'll find out why. But I think that I think there's so much I could say about that, and I'm gonna save that for some shorts and videos on the channel because I don't want to get too sidetracked into theistics and stuff. But I didn't become a non-believer. I didn't deconstruct because bad things happen in the world, but it certainly didn't help anything. Okay, it certainly was one of the things that just kind of set the scales more and more and more toward atheism. But again, it wasn't the sole reason that I deconstructed or anything. But I think that how do I take the darkness and turn that into light? That's beautiful. I don't think it's just a plea for guidance. I think it's the voice of someone who's realizing that that light might not come from above at all, at least not in the sense of an invisible sky daddy who's saying, here, let me bestow this upon you, my child. It might be universal light, but I don't think that it's the light that we were taught to believe it was, that light's within ourselves. So I think that that's a really important realization. I think that I think that for someone like me who can't force myself to believe but still longs for meaning, the ending here really mirrors the late night arguments that I've had with the silence. There have been a lot of times where I've prayed as an atheist, still just kind of desperate, or I've argued myself in my head. I've had debates with myself in my head. There's that aching need to make sense of a world where children are hurt, like he's saying, billionaires hoard wealth. The whole thought of the priests touching children, like that's disgusting. And prayer often feels like we're just shouting in the middle of an empty room. That's what it feels like. And that's what it feels like to me, is just being in the middle of an empty room and screaming. And the question, what was it? How do I believe in a concept where I speak to a man I've never seen with my own two eyes? Now, I don't know if he's referring to God or referring, because he was talking earlier about the booth. I don't know if he's referring to the priest like confessing, but I'm assuming God. I'm assuming he's referring to God. I think that really captures the philosophical tension of atheism, because there's this pull between the desire for something greater and the discipline of accepting what is provable even when it's cold and unsatisfying. So being an atheist to me is really unsatisfying. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It's cold, it's lonely, it's depressing, but you know what? So was being a freaking believer and feeling like I'm talking to someone who's rejecting me, feeling like there is a God and he must not love me, and then finally realizing no, he's just not there. I think his anger at injustice, how the hell does one man have what was $100 billion, and we still have people on the street that are broke, that are suffering, that are struggling, that are falling apart. You know, how is that a thing? How does God allow that? That's echoing the atheist critique of organized religion as a system that too often reinforces rather than relieves human suffering. A lot of human suffering comes from religion. Come on, fight me on that. Comes from religion. A lot of human suffering. And I think it was Marx who famously quoted that religion is the opium of the people. If I remember correctly, I think it's Marx. Because I don't think that he was trying to mock belief. I'm certainly not trying to mock belief in quoting this, but I'm lamenting on how religion pacifies the poor and the downtrodden and those who are struggling with this promise of heaven, with this promise of this beautiful place where you'll be reunited with your loved ones and you'll walk on streets of gold and have all these crowns. Like, what? Why is that a thing? Why is wealth a thing in heaven? Anyway, I think that the powerful are building their kingdoms here, and it gives us a sense of justice to know, well, one day I'll be with God and I'll be in a better place and all that. It gives us a sense of justice. And Dax's fury is at, no, like, you don't get to hoard that here to then say, well, you're going to be in a better place in heaven. Like Joel Osteen is going to say, oh, you're going to be in a better place in heaven. Go to hell, Osteen, go to hell. But I think that his fury at the corrupt pastors, the hollow institutions, that taps into that same realization that moral authority doesn't come from just claiming divine connection, all right? Like, just claiming that. It comes from human empathy, and I have never seen more heartless people than those who are super religious that will just say, oh, thoughts and prayers, and completely abandon you. Now, I will say I've had some amazing people from different faiths that have really stepped out to love and help me. Not gonna deny that. I have had support from people who are Christians or people who practice different religions, but I have also seen people who like cleave to their Bible like it's a life raft, and they are the most selfish people that I have ever seen. So, I mean, I've seen it go both ways. I don't want to pretend that I haven't been very supported by people that are Christian. I have been. But yet, after all of this, after all of his moral realizations, after all of his questioning, after all of his pain that's coming out, I feel like he just kind of needed to rid himself of all that, to get it outside of him, so then he could rise. And I mean, like, even outside of religion, that's pretty telling, because you get all that out so you can rise above it, so you can heal, so you can start to heal. So in his case, I think he's healing that relationship with God, but I think it's pretty telling all around. I think that there's a lot from that. I think that his contradiction in being angry and still having faith is really actually quite profoundly human. I mean, many of us who have lost faith, we still find ourselves like kind of whispering amen or whispering a prayer. I'm not gonna lie, like there's times when I was trying to have my daughter, I was going through IVF and stuff, there was a time it was when my numbers weren't rising during a failed cycle, and I ended up having a miscarriage. And I was listening to McGraw, Don't Take the Girl, like praying, screaming on my bed, like, please God, please don't take her away, please don't take her away. I think that as they say, there's no atheist in a foxhole, you know, meaning that when you're desperate, you're going to turn to trying to connect to that. And I still do, like, just out of habit. I think that it's either out of habit or out of hope, out of desperation, I don't know, but it's there. Not because I believe someone's listening, I don't, I haven't in a long time, but because the longing itself refuses to die. And I kind of think that the verse, song, is it even really about religion at all? I mean, I think that he intended it to be, but I think that it can also be a conversation about what happens after it. Like, once you've deconstructed that raw, unfiltered reckoning with a universe that gives no easy answers. I mean, that's true wherever we stand, right? There's no easy answers for any of this, and it's the sound of someone. I mean, obviously, we perceive art through our own lens, through our own experience, right? And I'm sitting here going, it's kind of the sound of someone who's deconstructed belief but still craving transcendence. Like, he's still craving that connection, he's still craving that protection, he's still craving that hope, and he's not really doing it through gods or churches per se. He's doing it through truth, through searching, through justice, and this stubborn refusal to stop asking why, to keep searching. And I have to say that it's not that I stopped searching. Atheism just means I'm searching more. It's not that I left because I wanted to just go sin. It's that I started questioning and I couldn't find answers to those questions. I couldn't find connection to God. Once I started questioning that, I couldn't find that. I couldn't feel it. And that's why I left. I know that this has been probably one of the longest reactions I've ever done. But I had a lot to say. I could keep going and going and going. There's so much that I still want to get out, that I heard in the lyrics, that I'm seeing in the lyrics. There's so much I want to get out. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of these lyrics over time, and like maybe the questions and stuff, and start doing shorts on the Abstract Atheist channel, just to kind of give my perspective on it, like lyric by lyric, because there was so much I couldn't really do that. So I think this is going to provide a lot of conversation for us to have in the future also through doing that. But as I said before, what I really encourage here on the community is to share your mental health stories, good, bad, and crazy. And I think this provides a lot of opportunity, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, hey, my church community really was there for me when I was struggling. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, hey, when I deconstructed, everybody abandoned me and I feel alone and I feel like like I'm just drowning and I was abused in religion. Like maybe you were one of the people that was abused, one of the children that was abused by a pastor. I know many of them. I have the holy horror stories actually that I've been doing here. I've only done one episode, but that I'm doing on the Abstract Atheist channel to talk about some people's experiences and give them a voice. So on another note, if you would like to share that, if you have a story that you'd like to get out that would help you in your healing journey about some of the mistreatment and stuff in religion or during your deconstruction process, I'd love to share that. I will give the email address below to submit that to, but also feel free to share it here in the comments. That is how we shatter the stigma, is by talking about it. The mental health stigma, that's how we shatter it. We have to talk about it. And I know that this is an uncomfortable thing for people. I know I might lose some subscribers. People might hate me. People might really freak out on me down in the comments, and that's okay. I would really encourage you to offer constructive feedback, because you can't bully someone into believing. Just keep that in mind. If your goal is to open my eyes and open my heart, you can't bully someone into believing. Okay, so if you want to respectfully debate a little, or share why you think I might have been off the point or something, feel free to do so in the comments. I really do love you guys. Like I said, I don't want anyone to feel ostracized. I want everyone to feel welcome here. And I hope with all my heart that I did not push anyone away or make anyone feel unwelcome by sharing this part of my story, because it is something that's important, and that's why I started the channel. It's something that I need to talk about, to deal with some of my own healing and my own experiences and my own mental health journey. So if you guys jump over there also, thank you very much. Like I said, that will be linked below, and we're collabing so you can see both channels. But I really do love you guys. I appreciate you guys for giving me the space and the respect here to share my heart and share my experiences and my journey. I love you guys so much, and I will see you soon. Mwah.